Okay, I'm here at Dynamic Automotive, my favorite auto repair shop, and we've got a special treat for you guys today. First of all, we have Brianna here. Your car's here in the shop.
Yep, it is.
And tell me first, how did you learn about Dynamic Automotive?
Yeah, so I heard about it a couple months ago on the radio, You Ought to Know, and I thought I would come here to check on the transmission, and they did a great job, so I really recommend.
And I understand you had a transmission slipping issue, and you really were fortunate. Their BG product service, transmission service, solved the problem.
Yes. Every 100,000 miles.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the belt you're doing now, but the transmission you might do sooner than that. We'll talk to Todd about how soon you should do those things. But you dodged a bullet, didn't she, on that transmission?
Yeah, sure did. The fluid was definitely black in color, so it's definitely a little bit overdue. The filter itself was in pretty bad shape, so got the filter changed out, went ahead and performed a BG transmission fluid exchange, and got things back where it needed to be.
And now it's working great. It's been a couple of months. And then she learned about the timing belt. Tell us about the timing belt on this car.
Absolutely. So with this car, we were overdue on the maintenance schedule for replacing the timing belt. So Honda recommends about 7 years to 8 years or 105,000 miles, which being it's a 2006, we've exceeded both of those. So it's definitely time, especially not knowing if it's been done or when it was done, not being the original owner. So we got this set up, and we're going to go ahead and change that out today. We're going to go ahead and replace the timing belt and the water pump. We're going to change out the Serpentine belt while we have that off to do the service, and then we're going to wrap things up with doing a BG cooling system exchange.
And so for folks that are watching this that aren't sure if their car has, this is an interference engine where if the belt breaks and it's running, it could do some serious damage. If they don't know and they're in the local area here, is this something you could help them with to figure out if they need this service on their car?
Absolutely, yeah. So there's a lot of engines that are an interference engine, meaning if that belt was to break, the valves would possibly stay wide open. And when that piston comes up, we will make contact. So it gets real expensive really fast. So definitely want to be getting this done before you have that problem.
And so roughly every 100,000 miles, it's something you should really deal with. And if you bought the car used, like Brianna did, and she didn't know the history, to be on the safe side, if you don't know, you probably have to have that taken care of.
Absolutely right. Yeah, definitely. The timing belt's not an inexpensive repair, but in comparison to replacing the engine or doing a valve job, it's a lot less expensive to maintain it than repair it.
Yeah, and if that water pump starts leaking, you have to tear it all apart to do the water pump anyway, so you might as well every 100,000 miles do the belt and renew that water pump so you don't have to worry about either issue.
Absolutely. And, not all applications are driven by the timing belt. The water pump's not driven by the timing belt on all applications, but on this one it is, and it certainly makes sense to change that out while we're all apart.
Because that's a significant labor cost, is getting to that, getting everything taken apart so you can get to that. The parts themselves are a smaller part. It's really the time to get in there and do it. And, of course, you guys do it right so you don't take shortcuts.
Absolutely, yeah. The difference between changing out the water pump and not is only less than a half an hour's worth of labor. And in a job like this, it's about a 5-hour job. So, that extra half an hour is definitely a good investment.
There you go. Okay, so folks, we're going to see a little more about this, and just make sure if you have a vehicle that has a timing belt, and even if you don't know if it has a timing belt or not, some newer vehicles have chains and some don't, and some have timing belts that it's not an interference engine. So these guys can make sure and look up your car and let you know if this is something that you should have dealt with. And any servicing, and I bring my car here every spring and fall, spring for a spring service, fall for a fall service. And it's a 2004 Prius, and it runs like brand new. So, folks, I don't know about you, but I'd rather keep my car in immaculate condition, running great, and not have to spend a whole bunch of money on a new car. So if you want to do that, just bring your car here every spring and fall and have these guys put the evil eye on it and make sure that everything's the way it needs to be, and you will be in good stead. thank you for watching, and find these guys on Frederick.com also.
Okay, so here we are at about the halfway point. So we've got the new timing belt installed. All the timing marks are lined up properly. New water pump installed, torque to specification. We have an idler pulley, a tensioner pulley, and a new tensioner. So all of those components have been replaced at the same time, and now we're going to start buttoning things up. Okay, so with the timing belt all installed here and the new water pump and all the idler pulleys, we're going to go ahead and put the main engine mount bracket back onto the front of the engine here. And then once that's installed, we can move on to replacing all of the covers, the plastic covers, which conceal the timing belt behind them. Okay, so here you can see the new timing belt coming down from the top cams, and it's coming down and around our crankshaft right here. Right up here is the new idler pulley. Over here is the new tensioner pulley, and then right here coming down this hydraulic cylinder is the timing belt tensioner, which we always replace with the timing belt installation. Okay, so we've wrapped up getting the lower timing belt cover put on, and we've installed the rear bank timing belt cover, and here we're finishing up with the third one, the final one, and that's the front bank camshaft belt timing cover. So we're going to wrap that up now, and then we can go back down and start putting on some other components. So next we've got the Serpentine belt, idler pulley, and tensioner installed. And next we're going to go ahead and get the harmonic balancer or lower crankshaft pulley installed. And next we're going to go ahead and lower the vehicle back down. We'll get the power steering pump installed, and then we'll go ahead and get that Serpentine belt routed around all these pulleys. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and get this power steering pump reinstalled here on the engine. So we're going to swing that in place, and then it gets held on there with just a couple of fasteners. We'll go ahead and get those in, and then we can get the Serpentine belt routed around here, and then lastly we'll wrap up with putting the engine mount back in place. Okay, so we've got that new Serpentine belt routed around all the other pulleys, and we're going to go ahead and release the tensioner here to allow access for that belt to go around the power steering pump. And just like that, that Serpentine belt is now installed and ready to go. Okay, so we've got everything wrapped up here on the top side. We've moved back down to the bottom. We've got the lower shield reinstalled there that blocks access to that harmonic balancer where the timing belt and Serpentine belt are routed around. And next we're going to go ahead and get this tire reinstalled, and then we'll get the car back down on the ground. We'll refill the power steering system, fill the cooling system, and then we'll wrap this one up. Okay, so we've got the engine back up and running, and we're going to go ahead and set that power steering fluid right to the proper level. And looks like that's all filled. And next we're going to shut it off here. We're going to check the antifreeze and let him run here and set all the levels. So we're going to go ahead and top off the coolant once this engine's came up to operating temperature. Make sure everything's set right. And putting in a good quality antifreeze to the manufacturer specification is so important. It's just not antifreeze. It's also a lubricant to the water pump. It also has anti-corrosive properties that keeps everything from rusting and corroding on the inside. So it's really important to get that changed out. And we do recommend about every 5 years or 50,000 miles for changing out the antifreeze.
Okay, so that was a lot of fun, Todd. Thank you very much for doing this. This is a real service to folks out there that want to learn about these kinds of things. We've done a few videos like this in the past on other subjects, and they can stay tuned. There's going to be some more on the way.
Absolutely.
And how do folks, in the meantime, get in touch with you?
So if you're in the Frederick or Libertytown area, we can always be reached by phone. Phone number is 301-694-6250, or you can find us on the net at dynamicautomotive.net.
Thanks again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Todd, he's a superstar. Come down and see him.
If you enjoy local content like this, please like, comment, and share this video. If you own a local business, please join us.